Hello, my friends. Today we're learning Bobe Basra Daf Mem Hey. We're going to start Mem Daled on base 4 lines up Gufa. So we learned before Omar Rav Zvint, Omar Rav Ravin Bar Shmuel Mishmei de Shmuel. Ravin, the son of Shmuel, said in the name of Shmuel the following: Amoicha soda lechaver shloi bar chrais. Reuven, who sold the field to Shimon, without responsibility, if you take away the field from Shimon, then Reuven won't have to pay him back. Ein made loyoleo. So Reuven can't be made that this field belongs to Shimon now. If let's say Levi comes and says it's his field, Reuven can't testify about this that it belongs to Shimon. Why? Because Reuven's noger be'edus. Why is he noger be'edus? Because Reuven wants it to stay in the hands of Shimon. Because if Yehuda, who Reuven owes money to, who he got a loan from him before he sold it to Shimon, comes to take his loan, he could take this field off Shimon because the sale happened after the loan. And therefore he pays off his loan with this field, so he prefers it to be in the hands of Shimon than the hands of Levi. Says the Gemara, what's the case? If Reuven has other fields, or Lady Deoda. Anyway, Yehuda, who's a malva and who's owed money by Reuven, when he comes to take his money, he first has to take what Reuven has. Only if Reuven has nothing, then he could take from Shimon for the field that he sold. So therefore, if Reuven has other fields, anyway Reuven will need to pay, because Reuven has what to pay. If Reuven doesn't have any other piece of land, what does Reuven gain that Yehuda could claim this land from Shimon? Anyway, Reuven's not going to pay back the loan. He has nothing to pay back the loan, so he's anyway not paying back Yehuda. So what does he gain that Yehuda is going to claim it off Shimon? Says the Gemara, really we're talking about the Leslie Arachriti. Reuven doesn't have any other land. And what does he gain from that Yehuda is going to collect his loan from Shimon? The Omar, he says to himself, I don't want to be, well, it says in the Pasuk that someone who borrows money and doesn't pay is called a Rasha. I don't want to be a Rasha. I borrowed money from Yehuda. I don't have how to pay back. So at least Yehuda should get to pay back from Shimon, from the field I sold Shimon after the loan that I took from Yehuda. Says the Gemara, what's his whole benefit, Reuven, to pay off what he owes Yehuda? Now, if Yehuda comes and takes this field from Shimon, so Shimon lost. So he's like a loiva from Shimon and he's not paying. So he's still a Rasha. What did he benefit? To Shimon, the one who sold the field to, Nami loiva Rasha v'lo yishalem hu. So the Gemara, the Amalei, Reuven tells Shimon, you know why I sold you Shimon shloi bar chayes? I shouldn't have any responsibility for if they take it away from you. And now if Yehuda, my malva, took it away from you, I don't need to pay anything because it was without responsibility, and therefore I'm not loiva roshav lo yishalem because I don't owe you anything. Machriz Rava ve'ite merapapa. Rava announced, and some people say it was Rapapa who announced this. The Salkin le'ila, the people who go from Bovel upwards to Eretz Yisrael, then the Nachtin Etota, and the people from Eretz Yisrael who go downwards towards Bovel, because we always look at Eretz Yisrael as a high place. These people, everyone should know this din. Bar Yisrael, this Jewish person, the Zovin Nechamer Yisrael, who sold a donkey to his fellow Jew, Chavrei, the Ko'osi Akum, and a goy comes, but honestly, Minei, and he takes it away from this guy he sold a donkey to. So let's say Reuven sold Shimon a donkey, and now the goy comes and takes it away from Shimon, forcefully saying that belongs to him. Dinahu, the halacha is the matzpilei minei, that Reuven needs to pay back Shimon the price of the donkey that got nicked away from him by the goy. And Tosfos explains that it's talking about that the goy took it out of Shimon in a goysha court. It's not that he just grabbed it off him. He went to a goysha court, and the goysha court paskin that belongs to the goy. So in such a case, the Jew, Reuven, needs to pay Shimon back for the donkey. We continue, and we don't say this, if Shimon says, I don't know this donkey that really belonged to Reuven, I have no idea. Avol Maki Boshi Bas Chamorui, if Shimon admits and says, yeah, I know that this donkey that Reuben sold to me is the daughter of the donkey that belongs to Reuben. I mean, I know it used to be his, I know it's his. So we have Oidoas Baldin Kimei Eidim Domi of Shimon saying that this donkey really belonged to Reuben. So therefore Reuben doesn't need to pay him back for the donkey that the guy stole it. That the guy stole it. It's none of Reuben's problem. And we don't say this thing that Reuven needs to pay Shimon. Only in the case where the guy took away from Shimon, he only took away the donkey, but he never took away the saddle. Meaning you could see that the guy actually believed that it belongs to him. But if the guy took away the donkey together with the saddle, now even if Reuven stole this donkey, the saddle belonged to Reuven. Why is this guy taking away the donkey and the saddle? It's because he's Stamaganev. So in such a case, Reuven won't need to pay Shimon, because if I sell something to someone and it gets stolen, I'm not his insurance broker. I don't have to pay him his insurance. I don't have to pay if something happens. It's not my responsibility. And here the guy stole it off him. Ameima says not like what we said. Afilu leke kol ani, even if the guy stole only the donkey and not the saddle, even if the guy doesn't recognize the donkey, Shimon doesn't recognize the donkey that belonged to Reuven, Reuven does not need to pay. My time, what's the reason? Meidayoda, we know the stamovid kechovim, when he comes to take something honest, so he's just stealing. Shenemar, because it said in the Pasuk, Asher Pian Divrashov, that they lie, V'iminom Yimin Sheker, and even their right is not truth. They're full of lies, and we can't trust them, and therefore Reuven is no responsibility for the guy taking away from Shimon the donkey. Umon ein lo chazaka. So we learned in the Mishnah that a craftsman, let's say a tailor, we give him a suit to fix, and now he says it belongs to him. So he doesn't have a chazaka, even though normally we say kol ma shetachas yodei shel adam shelo, anything that's something in the hand of someone, it's his. Uman can't say it's his, because we know how it came to you. The guy gave it to you to fix, to sew it, to make it slimmer, wider, etc. Omar Rabba, says Rabba on this din in the Mishnah, our Mishnah is only talking about Eloshamosaloi be'edim. If Reuven gave the tailor this suit, or he gave a shoe to the cobbler with edim, so we have edim that he gave it to him, then the Uman can't claim and say, I want it. The Uman can't claim it belongs to him. Aval Mosaloi shaloi be'edim, if the Balabais, I mean the one who owns his shoes or suit, gave it to the craftsman without edim, since the tailor could say, I don't know what you're talking about, what suit did you ever give me? I have no idea what you're talking about. When he says, I bought it off you, Balabais, the tailor will be believed, because he has a migu, since he could have said, I don't know what you're talking about. So he is also believed to say that he bought it off him. Omale Abaye asked the Kashan Rabba, if so, afilu be'edim nami, even if Reuven, let's say he's the Balabais who gave it to the tailor Shimon, with edim, the Uman should be believed if we say such a migu. Since the tailor Shimon could say, I gave you back the suit already, I don't know what you're talking about, I gave it back to you. If he says, I bought it off you, Reuven, it should be believed, since he has a migu, the same like he could say, he could say, I gave it back to you. Rabba, so Rabba told Abaye, Mi Sabris, do you think do you think that if Reuven gives Shimon a picodon with edim, with people who witness I gave over, Shimon can return it to Reuven without edim and say, oh, I gave it back to you? Loi, that's not true. It's not true. If Reuven gives something to Shimon with edim, Shimon has to give it back together with a witness who see that he gives it back. And if Shimon doesn't have such witnesses, we take on that it's still in the hands of Shimon. And therefore, what Abaye's Kashi has a migu, they could have said, I gave it to you back. He can't say, I gave it to you back, because they don't have edim that he gave it back. Mesiv Abai asked the Kasha on Rabbah from a Braitza. It says, Ra Avdoi Biad Umon, someone Reuven saw his slave by someone who teaches him how to become a tailor, a carpenter, someone who's teaching the slave how to become a craftsman. Vitaliso Biad Koive saw his cloak in the hands of the person who does the washing. Omaloi, and Reuven tells the Umon, or Reuven tells the Koives, Mativo Yetzlecha, what is my slave doing by you? What is my talis doing by you? So the Koives or the Umon tells him, Atom Charatoli, you sold it to me. Aton Otatoli Bimatona, you gave it to me as a present. Lo Yomar Klum, we don't believe the Umon, we don't believe the Koives, and he has to return the Eved or the talis. Continue the Brisa. Bifonai omar toloi limorichroi velisnoi. If the Umon says to Reuven, you told me in front of me that you told the Koives Shimon tells Reuven, you told Levi in front of me. Bifonai omar toloi to Levi limorichroi velisnoi. You told Levi to sell it to me or to give it to me as a present. So what's it then? Then b'matona, dvarav kayam, and then we do believe the koivis of the uman. On that, the Gemara straight away asks, Maishna Reisha, Maishna Sefer, what's the difference? If the uman's not believed, why in the Sefer should he suddenly be believed when he says, you told Levi to sell it to me? We don't believe the uman because we know how it came to him. He gave it to him to fix. Omar Rabba. So Rabbi explains, Sefer of the Brisa is talking about biyoitze mitachas yedei acher. It's talking about we have a Reuven who we know used to own this talis or this evet. We have Shimon who's a uman of the koives, and we have Levi, a third person, and Levi is holding this slave or this talis in the Sefer. The Ka'amalei acher, and Levi tells Reuven, before I amartulo, you, in my eyes, you told the koives Shimon or the Uman Shimon, to sell it to me, Levi, or to give it to me as a present. So then Levi's believed. Why? Migu, he has a migu. Since he could say Levi, who's not a Uman, that means the Uman we know how the suit came to him, but Levi is still a person, so Levi could have taken it to Reuven, you sold it to me, or you gave it to me as a present. So since the Iboy Omalei Minoch Zavante, since he could say, you sold it to me, Ki Omalei, when he says, Nami, before I Omartuloi, when he says, you told Shimon to sell it to me, Lemoichroi, Dvarav Kayomim, he's believed because he has a migu. If he was a liar, he could have said a better lie. Umeheman, and therefore he's believed. Okay, so until now we understand the Brisa. Rabbi explained the Brisa. Ktoni Mias, it says in the Brisa, Reisha, in the Reisha of the Brisa, Ra. It says the Brisa starts, the Abai brought Ra after Biadumon, that he saw with Eidim L'chora, we're going to see in a second. He saw, again, we said in the Reisha that he saw his slave or his talis in the hands of the Uman of the Koives. Eichidomi, what's the case? Ide Eike Eidim, if there's Eidim that he gave it over to the Koives, or he gave it to the Uman to teach his slave, normally, Ra. Why does Reuven need to see the slave of his by Shimon to claim it off him? Even if he doesn't know where he is, he doesn't see him anymore. Nasi Eidim, he should bring his Eidim that he saw, that he gave it over to Shimon. The Reuven gave it over to Shimon to teach him umnus, or to clean the cloak. Vinishkon, and he should get it back. You never gave it back to me. Elolav, it must be talking about the Leka Eidim. It's talking about whether Reuven has no Eidim that he gave it over to the Uman or to the Koives. But if he does suddenly have Eidim that this slave that belongs to Reuven or a talis that belonged to Reuven is now by Shimon, Miotofisle, he could get it back. That's what it says in the Brisa. It's somehow with no Eidim, we will Moichiach, and it says that he could get it back, Reuven. And Rabbah said that if he has no Eidim, you can't get it back from the Uman. The Uman's believed because he has a migu that he could say, Lo Yored Varim Oilo. So it's a kash on Rabbah. So Rabbah answered, Lo. The Brisa is talking about where there is Eidim that he gave it over. But Udara, it's not enough that Eidim that he gave it over. You need also Eidim that it's by him, by Shimon. Not only that you need Eidim that he gave it to Shimon, you need Eidim that it's by Shimon now. And that doesn't really make sense. The Gemara straight away going to ask, or Abai straight away asks Rabba, "Well, atu d'amris, you Rabba told me, I'm after this a chaver be'edim, tzorch lefer be'edim. You Rabba told me that if you give something with edim, you can't. The person who received it is not trusted they gave it back until he brings edim. They gave it back. So if I have edim over here, they gave it to Shimon. Reuven has edim, they gave it to Shimon. Why do you also need the edim that they saw it by Shimon? It's enough that Shimon doesn't have edim. They gave it back. Reuven should be believed. Doesn't make sense." Omalei Sabai admitted to, Rabbi admitted to Abai, and he said, "Hodrubi, I'm choizer from what I said. Mistake." So really, for now we have here Rabba Shitta, even though there was choizer, but the original Rabba Shitta that says that the din of the mission, the uman's non nemon, is only if he gave it to the uman with edim, and Abai holds even without edim, the uman's non nemon. So Mosiv Rava Lisiu Rabba, Rava asked the kash on Abai Shitta that even without edim, the uman's not believed, and it's a raya to Rabba that only with edim. They're telling the Brisa, Noisin talis uman, Reuven who gave his talis to the uman to fix or to wash or whatever, and now they have an argument. Uman oimer stein kotatztoli, the craftsman tells Reuven, we agreed that you pay me 2. Valoy oiman, the owner of the talis, says, Loi kotatzti lecho elo achas. No, we agreed only about 1. I never said I'll pay you 2. So said the Brisa, Kozman shatalis biaduman, if the talis is still in the hands of the craftsman, al balabais lo aviraya, we believe the craftsman until the balabais brings a raya, otherwise he only promised 1. If he gave the uman, gave back the talis to the balabais, and now depends. Bizmanoi, if it's in the time when the uman needs to get paid, meaning as we learned in Bomitzia that when someone does a job for you, you need to pay him until the shkia. So if it's still before the shkia and the uman comes and says you owe me 2, nishba v'noitel, the uman makes a shvua and takes the 2 that he claims the balabais owes him, and the reason why he makes a shvua v'noitel, it's a takona. It's like socher bezmane, someone who's a worker. When it's still the time to pay, he could say he didn't get paid, and he makes a shvua and he takes, and it's a takonas chazal. So also here it's a similar thing. It's a takona. Avazmanoi, if it comes already the next day after the time of payment, the uman is moitzi from the balabais. He's claiming 2, and the balabais says only 1. And therefore, we don't believe the uman. We have here moide b'mitzas l'chor b'chayev shvua, but we won't go into that. But the uman needs to bring a raya. So says the Gemara, says Rava, Echidami, what is this price you're talking about? Idei ke'edim, if it was edim that Reuven gave this talis to the uman, lech ze edim, I karmi, let's ask, the edim saw the Reuven giving over to Shimon, the uman, so we could ask the edim, l'chor, if they were there, how much did they agree on a payment of 1 or 2? Says the Gemara, Menvav Amudalef, Elo lav de leke edim, it's so mad that there was no edim when Reuven gave it over to Shimon. Victoni, and it says uman me'emon, that if the cloak is still in the hands of the uman, we believe the uman. Why is that? Migu, because he could claim the iboy omale lekuchay biodi mehemon lekuchay biodi, since it's so much there's no edim, and the uman could have said I bought off you me'emonami agre. We also believe him. If he was a liar, he would say I bought off you and keep the whole talis. So now he's claiming that he owes him 2, we should believe him. He has a migu. So we could see clearly from this price, so the way we're explaining it, that there's no edim, and in a case where there's no edim, uman's believed to say lekucho ibiodi, exactly like Rabba said, not like Abaye. Said the Gemara, no, loy lom delek edim. Really, it's talking about where there's no edim, that Reuven gave it over to the uman. Oh, we had the shverkeit, if there's no edim, let's ask the edim how much did he... Sorry, really talking about there's no edim. Oh, l'charav, there's no edim, why is the uman believed? It's talking about where there's no edim that Reuven gave it to Shimon, and there's no edim that Shimon has this talis of Reuven. So then, for sure, if it's still in the hands of Shimon, the uman, he could taina lekuchay biodi. Even Abaye, who says that if you give it to uman without edim, you need to prove that it's in the hands of the uman. But if you can't prove that it's in the hands of the uman, for sure you could say lo adam. I don't know what you're talking about. and therefore he has a migu. Now that he's saying, you know what, it's really yours, I'm going to give it to you back, but you owe me too. So therefore he has a migu, and therefore Abaye admits he has a migu. Because Abaye is only arguing if he has Eidim, maybe not for giving you over, but at least for seeing that it was in the hands of the Uman. But if we don't have such Eidim, you don't have any Eidim whatsoever, for sure the Uman could say, I don't know what you're talking about, and therefore the Uman has a migu. Mostly Rav Nachman Yitzchok. Rav Nachman Yitzchok has a kasha on Rabba who holds that the din of the Mishnah, the Uman's not believed to say Lekuchei Biodi only if you have Eidim they gave it to him. It says Uman ein lechazaka. So we medayik Uman udein lechazaka. Uman is the one who doesn't have chazaka. Ha'acher, if he's not a craftsman, yesh lechazaka. If the suit's in his hand, he could say it's mine, and we believe him. Echidomi, what's the case? Ide eke Eidim. If there is Eidim that he gave it to this person or to the Uman. If you have Eidim that you gave it to a person who's not Uman, who's not a person, but you gave it to him as a Pikodin, and you have Eidim that it's by him now, why will he be believed? Why will this other person, very good, is not craftsman, and therefore it doesn't, and therefore it's not like obvious that it came to his hands because he's a craftsman, but we have clear Eidim that he got it. So how could he say he bought it? He gave it to him as a pekadon. Elolav, it must be talking about the leka edim. It must be talking about when there's no edim when he gave it over to this person, and therefore this person could say, I bought it, because why is it by me if I didn't buy it? Viktoni, and it says, Uman ein lo chazaka. And in such a case where there's no edim, even so, Uman doesn't have a chazaka. That means even if I don't have edim that I gave it over to the Uman, if I see it in the hands of the Uman now, the Uman can't say he bought it off me. Tiyufta, the Rabbi Tiyufta, it's a bomba kash on Rabbi who said that the Mishnah is talking about Dafka when there is Eidim, but if there's no Eidim, the Uman's believed. We could see that the Uman's not believed because it says clearly that there's a difference, from the Diuk, that there's a difference between a Uman and a different person. And if there was Eidim, also by a different person who won't be believed to say Lekuchei Biodis, it must be talking about there's no Eidim. If there's no Eidim, also Uman talking about there's no Eidim, and Afilu Ochi is not believed to say Lekuchei Biodis. We have a kasha rabba and a raya to Abaye Shita that the Mishnah is talking about Bain if there is Eidim. Bain if there's no Eidim, Uman's not believed to say, I bought this item. Thank you very much. We should all have a great night.